Happy Democracy Day is 26 years of democracy in Nigeria, and we're here to really x-ray how far and how well we've come as a nation. My name is Nonya Nwokoye, welcoming you to our discussion segment on Good Morning Anambra show today. Go to him now.
Well, still on the Happy Democracy Day, but then, are we actually happy? Ending military rule isn't just the only thing that actually ushers you that uninterrupted democracy. How close is your democracy, talking about Nigerian democracy, to the masses? Your electoral reform, how close and transparent is it? The security that democracy should bring, are we actually having it in every nook and cranny of this country? Hardship, economic hardship, and the rest of it all. Are you safe traveling from one part of the country? Food, how good is the food that you have? Do we have sufficient enough to go around in this country? These are meant to be the dividends of democracy. But then in the studio, we have our guests here that will actually touch light on these issues to know if actually the democracy that we all clamored for is actually giving us the true dividends of it.
All right, we've been joined by two gentlemen in the studio to look at the Democracy Day we are celebrating today, how far and how well. Chief Anthony Chibo is a public affairs analyst, and of course, Kanayo Obidibo, a public affairs analyst also. You're welcome to the studios of Good Morning Anambra.
Good morning and happy Democracy Day.
All right. Now, let me begin with Chibu. If you don't mind, I would want you to give us just a brief historical background to Democracy Day, which we are actually celebrating today, for the benefit of younger ones that may be watching this morning.
Well, today is MKO Abiola's Day, aka Democracy Day. MKO Abiola was the winner of the June 12, 1993 election, who never became president because the military junta led by General Ibrahim Babangida then annulled that election. Before that election took place, Nigerians were clamoring for freedom to choose their leaders. We have had problems from 1960 in making our elections count. So, in the build-up to that election, first and foremost, Babangida brought in late Professor Emawa to head NEC. He needed a credible National Electoral Commission that can deliver on a credible election. Along the line, they fell out with Emawa. They felt he was a rigid man. He was too principled to be pushed around. They brought in his student, Professor Humphrey Wosu, and Humphrey Wosu took over and looked at the system and decided that we should use what he called option A4. Option A4 is you line up behind the billboard of your candidate, you are counted and recorded, and then the result released. So eventually it produced what we call the best election since 1960 that have ever been conducted in this country. And that, the product of that election, MK Abiola was denied the opportunity to rule Nigeria. So subsequently, the military, agitation to celebrate that election is what we are celebrating today. It gave birth to what we call June 12 holiday and June 12 Democracy Day. So it was a day dedicated to immortalize Bashorun, Moshid,
all right, Kanayo, from what Thibault just said, you can confidently agree with the call that is now going on to honor late Humphrey Nwosu for being the person that actually conducted the best election ever in our country, Nigeria.
You see, according to him, respect or giving accolade posthumously to me is nonsense. Because he should have been honored while
When
he's
he's alive.
So that people will. Okay, when you talk of promotion now, and people, like you said, the younger ones, people will be asking,
Who is he?
Who was he? Who is he? But he just passed on not quite a few months ago. So to me, according to him, that's national honor, and then remembering him as the man who has actually conducted the most credible election in this country. We have seen several electoral umpires come and go, and we are still remembering Humphrey, which means, which is on option A4 as a formula of credibility. Nigeria should have honored him while he was alive, and then put a place, name a place, even in Anambra here at the national level. I don't see where I have seen a sign. Even the INEC building, if one exists, should be named Humphrey building today. So to remember him, like we were discussing earlier, somebody who actually undermined the military with their guns and was ready and was announcing, and he was taken into custody, which means he was a hero.
Fearless one at that.
Oh yes. So I don't think how many of them during the struggle, because today we talk about His Excellency Jagama, that he was Nadeku chief, he did this, he did that. But somebody said that state for Nadeku to come up. If he had not said, or if he had not proven that somebody actually won that election, who would have been Nadeku? But they are all enjoying the fruit of what Humphrey set in place. So to me, he deserves an honor. If they want it posthumously, it is up to them. If they don't want it, but we will continue to talk about it in political spaces. That Humphrey came and was the only professor who was there, because we have seen the Akata, we have seen all the Nadeku chiefs, and today we saw the Mahmoud, who is, everybody's saying, let Mahmoud die, because he had not performed. To me, Humphrey deserve more than whatever national honor they want to give to him.
Well, thank you so much for that submission, Kanayo. And then we're talking about Nigeria's democracy, and then we know in democracy, before you become any political officer, you understand you're duly elected and the rest of it all, after undergoing primaries in your respective party. Now, talking about June 12th and then today being Democracy Day. In sporting terms, they say you are as good as your last job. Now, having had the last general election, which was February 2023, that has brought us to this place, the system that brought us here isn't as credible as the Humphrey annulled June 12th election by the military junta that we still talk about today. Now, nobody seems to be saying, let us go and reform the Nigerian electoral system so that we can have something as good or better than what we had 1993 during Humphrey reign. Does it mean that Nigerians are not due of having something of that magnitude in this present day so that we can now build on credible elections? I remember when Yar'Adua came into power, he said that the system that brought him in was flawed, and the first thing he was going to do was to reform the electoral system. And we are still having flawed areas in that electoral system. Don't you think that for us to actually come up and say that we are actually practicing democracy, the electoral reform should be the first point of duty of reform? Chibo, what do you have to say about that?
All credit must go to late President Yar'Adua. He was brave enough to go PLC to say that the election that brought him to power is not credible. Not very many mortals will dare take such route. And he didn't stop there. He set up a constitutional, an electoral reform committee headed by Justice Wise of blessed memory. He just passed a few days back. Justice Wise was one of the longest justices in the history of the judiciary in Nigeria. He became CJN, I think, in 1996, and stayed there up to about 2000 and something, I'm not very sure. And he was a courageous man. He was a man who, you know, who had personal dignity. He believed that he needed, you know, for people to know who he is and, you know, who he is not. It's not like those judges you go behind and then make deals with. He was not like that. So the reforms that he outlined could have revolutionized the electoral process. But the political class, the political elite, continue to wrestle with the destiny of the Nigerian electorate. They don't want those reforms to see the light of day. Even as at today, the Constitution have undergone reviews, 2010, 2015, 2023, and those reforms are not reflected. So it's like we are deliberately setting ourselves up not to have a credible electoral system because political class, they are benefiting from that situation and they want it to perpetuate. But the people of Nigeria, I keep saying that we are docile. Power belongs to the people. The people don't want to fight back. They want somebody from America to come and fight for you here, or somebody from Britain to come and fight for your freedom. No, no, no. You have to do it yourself. If I go to America and fight for American freedom, I will try to claim part of that place. And likewise, if they come here to help us, so we must wake up and define and tell these people, hey, power belongs to me and you. It is not the political class that they will set up the rules, they will play the game, and they will be there, you know, sharing our collective patrimony, excluding us from the system, corrupting every system along the line. Judiciary, they have corrupted, military, police, everywhere.
All right, now I think at this point it's been defined or described as that democracy is the government of the people, by the people, for the people. Even any student of secondary school can define this for you. Now, going by what we are seeing as Nigerians living in Nigeria, Kanayo, could you please demystify this statement? And of course, let democracy being a government by the people, for the people, and by the people. And let us understand whether actually Nigeria is practicing democracy in the true sense of the word.
Well, it's so unfortunate that Nigeria, as a country, looked all over the world and decided to leave the parliamentary system to get into the democratic system of the Americans, and they went, understudied it, came, and then Babangida's team said it was going to be homegrown democracy. So we are homegrowing it now. Look at the way it is. So it is not the power to the people when their voice doesn't count. It is a shame. We talked about amendment. We talked about looking at the Electoral Act and the rest of them. Since I know America, they have had 27 amendments. Under that 27 amendments, it is seamlessly gone through. It's not like what we have seen here in this country. A country where the voice of the people are not heard. Some people say they are very boisterous, they can speak to the power. But at the end of the day, our judiciary, which is a very strong arm, and our legislators are not functioning. They are not allowed. The executive are actually muddling up the whole thing. A situation where an aspirant will come to the air and say, grab it and run. Is it a democratic language? How can you say grab and run with it? It is unfortunate that a lot of money has been deployed into the system, the electoral system, and we couldn't come up with an electronic technological system that will make our vote count. Until our votes start counting in Nigeria, the power does not belong to the people.
Even when vote counts, somebody will still be at the helm of affair to announce the result. So that announcing could still doctor what's the original outcome of the election.
So the point is this, when you have configured the result technologically, it is not one person that sees it, that will do the punching. It is all over the places that once you cast your vote, you start reading. I'm seeing it in California, I'm seeing it in New Jersey, I'm seeing it in Hawaii. You see? So there's no way you could have come up with this glitch. You see what they talk about? I don't understand Nigerians. So why would you talk about glitch? Technology. Technology that is so transparent that it is minus plus. And everybody is seeing it. Once you cast your vote, it goes there. Some of the universities on Students' Union are now practicing it and it's working. Some of our universities, they do those things on Students' Union election and it works. But here in Nigeria, money will be voted for, and INEC will have a lot of money, come up with the several proposals and whatever they say it is, and they will have all they needed. I have never had an electoral body in America. I don't know that this is a chairman of the electoral committee of the parties. I have not heard about it, and the elections are being conducted from the city level. From the city level where they get their mayors. You see, it is political parties that actually, we will be hearing of mayor of New York City, mayor of Maryland, mayor of this. They are all from one political party or the other. And they won election, and you will not hear that. So I don't know why Nigerian democracy is a different kind of democracy being practiced by Nigeria, because it's not done like that in Ghana. It's not done like that in Cotonou. It's not done like that in Senegal. These are, look at, I don't want to.
All right. Let's come closer. Closer to what should be happening today in Nigeria as we celebrate Democracy Day. I remember vividly that if it were in previous years, you'll get to see people this morning with their green and white everywhere. And of course, there will be parade. But this morning, in all papers that we read, the federal government cancelled parade, probably because of the demonstrations that were planned to hold today. So in a situation like this, Chibo, this question is coming to you. What do you say about a nation that is supposed to be celebrating her Democracy Day on a day like this, with great pomp and pageantry, parade here and there, cancelling parade because people planned protest. And this protest was not planned yesterday. So, Thibault, let us know what you thought.
Well, the system is afraid because it is systematically denying people the opportunity to express themselves. One of the fundamental rights in the 1999 Constitution, though I disagree with that Constitution because it's not our Constitution, is the freedom to associate, freedom to demonstrate, freedom to come together and say, hey, we disagree with this. But that freedom, gradually, the space of that freedom is closing up. People who have voices, the system tries to emasculate them. People who try to organize, the system wants to frustrate them. They want to frustrate them because they are fully persuaded that things are not going right. The country is very fragile. There is hunger in the land. There is apathy, there is this, there is that, and any little gathering might trigger one thing or the other that the security agencies cannot handle. So the system is afraid because the right things are not in place.
So now the right things not being in place means we are not actually practicing democracy.
Definitely, that's it.
So it's making mockery of today based on what is actually happening, because if Democracy Day is today and then there is no march past, I remember when I was in primary school, there was no even public holiday on a day like this, because every child would be dressed in their show uniform, go to the stadium, go to the local government center,
flying the flag,
flying it, but nothing seems to be happening. Does it mean that the dividend of democracy is being denied Nigerians? And now we're talking about insecurity all over the country, and we are practicing democracy. We don't seem to have a grip on what it is that we're doing. At the same time, we are saying 26 years of uninterrupted military rule and the rest of it all, but Nigeria doesn't seem to want to come out of the woods. Now, coming to you, Kanayo, democracy day in Nigeria, but Nigerians don't seem to have the dividends of democracy. Who do we blame? The leaders or the citizens?
You see, the bad thing about this country is that we have never been consistent with our history. Consistency in the sense that we gain republic, we gain independence. And these are days every other country commemorates. Like 4th of July, Americans are there for you. Okay? So we had our Independence Day in October. We moved it. The army came. They destroyed the system. And they came up with the 29th of May. And now after 29th of May, they came in now and said 12th of June, June 12th. You see, we have never been consistent with what our founding fathers fought for.
Independence Day is different. What we're talking about is democracy.
I'm telling you, is it not when you became independent from the rule of those colonial masters that you became democratic?
Independent.
That was when you became independent. Therefore, it should have been maintained. After all, you remember when we used to swear in the head of state, the president. Is it not in October? You understand what I'm saying? And then you should have maintained that. So that is the inconsistency I'm talking about in our democratic, practice in this country. So to me, it is a situation where when it pleases somebody in power and they grab it, they go to whatever they call their legislature and take a decision. Look at national anthem. After a long while, somebody came in with the national anthem. And you find that our Nigerians in the UK couldn't sing the new national anthem at the football pitch. So is it not policy somersault? Yes, that particular national anthem was so popular amongst us. But we now came up with our heroes first. Have we remembered our heroes first? We're talking about Humphrey Moose. We have not remembered anybody. You see, so what I'm trying to say is that not until there somebody come up and say this should stop. Look at what is happening in Burkina Faso. It is a new deal completely. Whether they like it or not, Burkina Faso has come to stay as a military junta democratic country.
More like you said. Now, dividends of democracy. Are we having it? Because when you list out the dividends of Nigerian democracy, first on it will be corruption, bigotry, nepotism, favoritism, and the list goes on and on and on. But then people say democracy is better than even the worst democracy is better than the best military rule. Political scientists are beginning to argue that and begin to say there are so many areas where you need to draw the line and say individually and then the economy of those countries and then the demography of that. But now coming to talk about the Nigerian Democracy Day and then the nomenclature of corruption that is really expensive, that is really strangulating us. Before 26 years ago, the level of corruption as compared to now, based on the fact that you guys were much younger, you knew what was happening, how can you relate it to what we are witnessing now, Chibo?
Nigeria. The problem, I keep saying, is the foundation. If this foundation is weak, what can the righteous do? We have a very weak foundation. We have a constitution that I consider a lie because he said we the people. There was nowhere all of us got together to decide on that constitution. A constitution that is skewed to serve interest of certain people. and have continued so to do. You don't want to talk about dividends of democracy. The people who are having the dividends of democracy are the political class. If you check the National Assembly, the Constitution made it in a way that certain section of this country will command the majority in that assembly. He was talking about electronic voting. That majority in the National Assembly from a certain part, from the northern part of this nation, will not permit electronic voting because they don't want transparency. They will say that their people are not educated enough to practice electronic voting. But it's the only thing is if we have electronic voting, we will not be using 3-point-something billion to conduct any election.
Absolutely.
You will not need any professor to declare any result in Anambra.
Absolutely.
People will cast their vote in Anambra and it will be recorded electronically. And we will declare the results from the 36 states of the Federation and the FCC the same day. You don't have to wait till tomorrow because everything is registering there. But certain people, the Constitution made sure that certain people will hold the majority ace. Those people who are holding the majority ace, they are the people who are now, holding Nigeria down. If you look at the political class, the Senate president, for example, today, there are about 56 armed policemen attached to him. The same goes, you talk about the deputy Senate president, you talk about the chief whip, you talk about the senators. All of them have policemen attached to them. All of them have DSS attached to them. So these things have destroyed those institutions. When policemen who are trained with taxpayers' money have now to serve an elected senator, an elected member of the House, or a minister of the Federal Republic, they are no longer serving you and I. In spite of the fact that we have a few number, we are talking about 300, less than 400,000 policemen today in Nigeria. Out of that 400,000, almost 120,000 or more are on several duties, serving VIPs. So where is the dividend is for the VIPs? It's not for you and I.
All right, from our discussions so far on this platform, on a day like this, Democracy Day for Nigerians, it's obvious that we're not really practicing democracy as it should be. At this point, we are going to take a very short break. Let's bring in the masses on the streets and feel their pulse concerning the issue at hand. We'll be right back shortly.
Democracy is a government in which the people participate in how they are ruled. And the participation obviously have to come with the fact that the interests of the people are protected in that administration.
Democracy is the government of the people, by the people, and for the people. But in Nigeria, as a Nigerian, I have come to understand democracy as another thing. That in Nigeria, we only hear about democracy in the news or paper. We don't practice democracy because democracy is a government whereby people say what they want. They are free to exercise all their rights, say what they want, exercise what they want the government to do. But here in Nigeria, if you say anything against the government, they will arrest you, they will do anything against you. So I don't think Nigeria is practicing democracy.
I would say so far so good, but it's not really have been that wonderful as a democracy. For 26 years, I believe our democracy is supposed to have developed, most especially in terms of the elections processes itself. By now, I felt that our elections ought to be much freer, much fairer. One, I have to look at the human involvement in the electoral process, which is really seriously affecting the results of the elections. Today in Nigeria, the best thing we could do if we really want democracy to continue and thrive in this country, we have to involve electronics in our elections.
Democracy, they said that democracy is a government of the people, by the people, and for the people. But from my own understanding, democracy is a system of government that gives a periodic opportunity for the masses to exercise their rights. So in Nigeria, we are not practicing democracy. What we are practicing in Nigeria is autocratic system of government, or anarchy, where some individuals exercise their do what they want. Power centers in one hands. That is centralized system of government.
For me as a Nigerian, is a representative government, which simply implies government that allow people to make their choices of who represent them in government. That is a layman understanding of democracy. But when you want to talk about democracy as a concept in government, we are told it is a government of the people, by the people, and for the people. Not minding what is being practiced down here, but we know what actual democracy is in the other climes out there.
It's good to have you back on the live studios of Good Morning Anambra show, where you've seen it by yourself. People have spoken their minds. It's not that we give them what to say. They said it, they are Nigerians, they live in Nigeria, and they know actually what democracy is all about, and they know what they are experiencing as Nigerians. So now, back in the studio, what's your reaction? Seeing that people, in fact, all of them actually said, we are not practicing democracy in Nigeria. So what do you think?
Well, it is unfortunate that we are not at war. And today, it is presumed to be a democracy day. And it's like movement is restricted. That is what it means. If you are a government that people accept, and you are telling us each time you go to radio, you go to newspaper, so you find out that they are telling us that things has improved in this country. Or is it improving to the worse, as we are witnessing now, that no more democracy movement? People cannot go and express themselves and say, this is a good government, will give you kudos, and then it doesn't want people to speak truth to power and say, this is wrong, just like they have spoken. Now, that democracy has actually not worked out over the 26 years we have. Instead of improving, I have seen other countries that practices democracy, and it is working out. For instance, you were saying something about military rule any civilian rule is better than the
best military rule.
But I can tell you that Burkina Faso, the Niger Republic, that actually removed those elected
officials,
presidents, are now feeling better. Look at Niger. My friend is right there now. My other friend came back from Burkina Faso, and we are planning to go to Burkina Faso in September because it's now a destination as a country.
Yes.
You see, in Africa here, in West Africa too.
A landlocked country.
Landlocked. But look at what they are doing. Look at the initiative of that young man. That young man came up with what no civilian president should be able to do. He was able to think fast. He was able to write the Pope. He wrote the Pope replied him. If you look at the reply, if you look at what he told the Pope before his inauguration, it was fantastic. He spoke to Trump. He invited him and said, I'm not coming. You see? So what am I trying to say? I'm trying to say that any country that has a good leader, like Rwanda, look at Rwanda, is now a model state in Africa.
Yeah.
So what I'm trying to say is leadership. We have not had the best of leadership in this country.
Okay, that means we are missing out on that aspect of it. Now, talking about Democracy Day and then Nigeria in perspective, this is the biggest democracy in Africa. India has the biggest democracy in the world. India, by their election votes, 900 people do vote in India. And you begin to wonder, what logistics do they have in order to execute that? Now, Nigeria, we're talking about 147 million. That was what the projection is talking about. But the last election was 96 million. They are saying that by 2027, we should be having 147 million Nigerians that should be eligible to vote. if we have the statistics of all of this that we have, how come we have voting apathy in this part of the country compared to the last election that we have? When people vie for political offices and the rest of it all, isn't it for the citizens to be happy to say, okay, fine, there's now a breath of fresh air. We have somebody that we believe, that if we anchor the responsibilities of governing this country in his or her hands, we definitely, beat El Dorado. But it's not the case in Nigeria. So somehow, what role are Nigerians, talking about the citizens, playing in even truncating this so-called democracy that we have? Talking, Chibo, please.
I don't think the citizens are playing any role to truncate it. The citizens are just expressing themselves in a way.
Voting, you're probably not.
Well, when your vote does not count.
Taking into consideration what happened in 2023, you remember a lot of young people have vowed never to cast.
When your vote, when your vote does not count, why would you want to waste your time going to vote? When you don't have a transparent process that will relay those results, that it will reflect the wishes of the electorate. People, you have voter apathy. You talk about India. India has an electronic voting system. Those 900 million people, they don't have to go and queue on the line. They don't have to do beavers. They don't have to do this and do all those shenanigans that are put in place to frustrate voters. They don't go through them.
All right, I think at this point we need to look at the effect this is having on us as a nation when we are not really practicing democracy as it should be. And of course, after that, we look at the way forward. Now, what do you think are the effects of what we are seeing? A lot of people on the streets have said we are not practicing democracy in any sense. What are the effects on us as a nation, on us as individuals, and all whatnot?
Well, it is boils down to leadership. I've still said it. When you look at the national level, the sub-national level where we have the governors, and you see that we have elections now staggered, you find out that certain elections within some states are credible. But when it comes to the national election coming together all at the same time, then you see how they model it up. Modeling it up because the INEC, I don't have to say that, they make up their mind on who to declare winner. Before we start voting. And if it's not going that way, there should be a glitch. Glitch in the sense is a technology language that nobody can contest with, because it could be electrical, it could be whatever. However, what I'm trying to say is that not until, like you rightly asked, that the citizens themselves are properly educated that this is your right. But my problem is that hunger has been weaponized on us. So you will see somebody casting his vote at the polling station, he will offer 2,000, he will pick up 2,000 and cast a vote. I was in Senegal when after a while he became the president of Senegal. There was nowhere we had about
vote buying.
That is what has killed this country.
Vote buying.
Vote buying.
So, but it is the citizens that perpetrate the
because they are hungry. They are hungry.
It's a demand and supply issue. There has to be a buyer and there has to be a seller.
If there is no hunger, a woman that came to stand on the queue to vote and he has nothing to offer the children at all, and you say take this 5,000, vote for me.
But you know that the 5,000 naira can only last you for a day. But that person is going to be tenured for 4 years.
Yes, now when MAMSA came, when all those outfits that actually continue to get people, we have to, if truly we want to, practice true democracy, to educate our people that what we have just said is the true position.
And of course, if we allow this to continue, we've seen that we are deteriorating as a people,
yes.
And we allow this to continue. It's a grave danger, especially for the upcoming generation. And Chibo, what's your take on that?
The future is very bleak. All of us are talking 26 years of uninterrupted. It's 26 years of packaging. There's nothing to interrupt because certain people package it in a way that, there won't be interruption. Now, we are talking about people, by selling their votes. They are selling it because the way it is arranged, the way you want me to vote, if I can vote with my phone from the comfort of my living room, where will I go to stand on the line in the sun for you to give me bread and give me Coke and then give me 2,000 to vote for you? I won't be there.
I will shock you to know that can still be abused. If before votes, before election, because this happens, you see bulk SMS of different political party championing the cause of their candidate. I do receive messages. So if you receive such message, it could equally sway you from voting for some other person other than the other person. So these are still areas of where we need to actually
work on the votes. What was like today is not open now.
Yes.
People are going to come out to canvass for votes.
Definitely.
It is not against the electoral law for you to canvass for votes.
Sell your candidate.
Yes, but it is against the law to offer funds, money.
Financial investment, material investment.
So that is where we are. And because Nigerians are hungry, in the old good days, people go to campaign and will stay on rallies and go home, no butter, no nothing, no snacks.
No snacks.
I remember the APP days. Nobody offers you anything.
Nothing.
And you are happy to come and sit down and watch you with us in talk on my way. But today, can you go with that?
All right, a lot of people are speaking, in today's papers, virtually all the papers, you see mixed reaction, you see mixed grief, you see APC, the APC has done worse to democracy and all whatnot. Now, we've seen that there is a very big issue at hand. What's the way forward? What do you think could be done to see that we return to better, maybe if we need to change democracy to other styles of leadership? What's the way forward? That's what we are asking now.
Well, I'm talking about leadership. It takes one person.
That's right.
It takes a principle, like you said, Yadagba came and said, the system that brought me
is wrong.
Please, let us review it.
Yeah.
It takes a very conscientious leader. That actually is patriotic, that actually is holistic in its activity to say, now I am here, we must change the system. Just like what happened in Rwanda. Still continue to talk about Rwanda. There was
even Ghana here.
Yeah, there was this tribal thing. But when he came and said, if you say you are this, Tutsis, or you are this, it is an offense, and that go on. And Rwanda is now one country.
Prosperous.
Different tribes. But until we do that, look at what is happening now. Somebody was saying that I was trying to go to L5. Then in Lagos, that the LP presidential election in Lagos, 2 million votes was grabbed his own election and then hand over. That it was Olomo and all that. That was why he said he felt bad, but why he supported him, because it was P2B was evil. Now they are coming together as coalition. So that is what will stop it. Until these big boys come together and tell us that today they are sorry for what they have been doing in this country. Because they are all...
Babangida has done that.
So what when they come and say they are sorry, that they now want to practice democracy.
One thing is saying sorry. Another thing is, trying to amend what is already damaged. When you say sorry without any action, what does it?
Like what is going on now is a situation where they felt that the particular region has been actually marginalized politically, and until that is done, and they believe that this presidency must go to a particular region that has never had it.
All right, Chibo, quickly.
Quickly, electoral reform or amended the constitution, which is more paramount in order for us to have a sustainable democracy.
Electoral reform,
the termination of amendment.
It comes with amendment.
What happens to a situation where they try to amend it to suit themselves? Because that's part of what we've been saying.
Well, the problem, like I said, the majority is skewed to favor certain people. That is the problem. The foundation is faulty. You know, but we cannot say because the foundation is faulty, let us throw away the baby with the bathwater. But we can agree, like he said, under a strong leader, that we are going to amend our ways.
All right, we
that
can.
We will not need. I don't need anybody to stand behind me if I'm president or governor. I don't need my wife to be a mother of a state when she was not elected. See, let me tell you, you know about governor of Georgia. You don't hear about his wife because his wife is not on the ballot.
All right, we can actually go on and on. It's Democracy Day in Nigeria, but just like a statement from Chibo that the foundation is faulty, and a statement from Kanayo says, until the big boys comes together to say they are sorry, and of course something begins to happen, we can never get it right. At this point, we would like to thank you so much for watching this program. You can actually go on to watch on our Facebook page, and of course we are on free-to-air channel, Strong Channel 68. ABS is there, so you can watch and make your own comment there. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for being here this morning.
My pleasure.
All right.
Happy Democracy Day.
All right. Sit tight because we have more.
Every reason to be happy.
We have more coming up on Good Morning Anambra show. Please don't go anywhere.